This episode of the Going Mach 5 podcast is brought to you by absolutely nobody.
I taught Mike some phrases to help with his interracial conversations. You know, stuff like going Mach 5, Mach 5, fleece it out, dinkin' flicker. Dinkin' flicker. Fluffy fingers, just can't help myself. Going Mach 5, Mach 5.
It's gonna be zoppity.
I have to do my Joker shit.
Okay.
Tell them your name.
Well, my name is Shana Pinnock. And yeah, that's it.
Okay. Why are you here this weekend?
I had a wedding.
Who got married?
My another line sister. I'm a Delta, by the way, for those listening.
You're dark skinned, of course you're a Delta.
Yeah.
If you were light skinned, I would say you're an AK.
Oh God. My number 4 got married. Shout out to Javon and Terrell. And I have literally over the next 3 weeks. So last weekend I was in DC. Mm-hmm. There was a wedding on Sunday, this past Sunday.
Who got married?
My 6. And my 4 got married last night. And not next week. No, this upcoming week I'm finally home. Next week.
Where's home?
New York.
Okay.
Next week I'm flying into North Carolina and then driving to South Carolina for another wedding. My 20's getting married. And then the weekend after that.
Did y'all plan this shit?
No. They all.
No. Let me rephrase. You might not have had a hand in planning
I don't know
this.
what them bras did.
That's what I say. Like, it seems like a very.
I don't know what them bras did.
Mm.
But yeah. And then the weekend after that, I'm back in Atlanta for homecoming. And then November, I'm not going to this wedding, but my 7 is getting married. But she's getting married in Cape Town, South Africa, and I refuse.
Y'all plan this. Yeah, y'all plan this.
Yeah, she's getting married in Cape Town. And I'm not going because I'm going to Thailand in December for 10 days, my first solo international trip.
So you've never been?
Never been to Thailand and never been on an international trip by myself.
Have you been with other people?
All the time.
Where's the last place you went?
Technically Mexico. Before that was where's the line trip? I don't remember. Costa Rica.
You're gonna love Thailand.
I am so excited. I already have my plans.
You have your itinerary already?
Mm-hmm. I've decided all the things I'm gonna do.
Like what?
Okay. So one of my first days there, I am hitting up. So you know, like you can get like a 3, like don't low key, you can get like a 2-hour massage in Thailand for like $7. But I wanted like a full spa experience, so I'm paying like $100 for an 8-hour spa day. Good Thailand spa time. So that's like one of my first days there. Cause you know, I'm taking like it's 19 hours to get there. I have to fly 15 hours to Beijing and then another 4 hours from Beijing to Bangkok. And I'm flying first class because I refuse to ever do I went to Abu Dhabi like 4 or 5 years ago in coach. And I said, never again.
What airline?
Etihad. But you mean for Thailand?
I mean, what airline did you, when you went to Hartsfield, what airline did you jump on to get to Abu Dhabi?
I flew out of JFK.
Nice, I'm tripping because you don't live here anymore.
Yeah.
And what airline did you jump on?
So Etihad.
Where do they service? Clearly, that's international. Where do they service?
United Arab Emirates or whatever.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, was in coach and I was like, never again. I'm not doing this. So for my Thailand trip, this is my Christmas gift to myself. So I'm like been on like a eat, pray, love journey maybe the last 3-4 months.
What are you doing now professionally?
I'm a social media director.
Okay. Where?
For The Griot. So it's a Black-owned media outlet. Basically, think of like Blavity or The Root. That's us.
Now, the fact of the matter is, you were very instrumental, as you spoke on before, about You Got My Sister,
Yes.
Two Chocolate Faces,
Yes.
featured in the griot.
Yes.
Did she, now you said you reached out to her. Did she respond back to you? I'm sure she, okay. I just want to make sure. I'm sure she did, but.
Listen, those little boys were freaking adorable, and I was like, oh no, I need them on our Instagram. Like, can I use their photos? Is it okay?
Yeah, she's not gonna say no to that. Alex and Nathan are like they're my everything. I'm gonna tell you, my phone is a pretty much. You can see the duality of my personality. Let's see if this will pop up. Yes, it will. Now, I don't know if I'll be able to get it in focus or if you'll be able to see it. But, all right. Now, I don't know if nobody's going to be able to see this. It's not going to be in focus. The background of my phone is Thanos.
Oh, God.
When he went to snap his fingers in
Nerd.
Endgame. But my lock screen
Are the boys.
are the boys.
Aw.
So it's a cartoon version of them that I actually paid to have made. I wish I remember the name of the guy who did it. I'll plug him right now. That's what she said, but I would plug him right now. I kind of want to look it up real quick so I can give him a shout. But anyway, he looked it up. He did a great job. Is it this guy? No, it's not this guy. I can't find him. But he did a great job. Yeah, those boys are, it's weird because they're not my kids, but they're my everything. Just watching them grow up and watching Alex and Nathan take on their little personalities. The big question is, when people often say, Rashad, when are you going to have yours? And I always say, when I want to. But the big question is, now you don't have children.
Nope.
When are you going to have children? Is it the same thing when you want to?
Kind of and kind of not. So for me, did I don't know if we talked about this. I discovered I had a brother like 3 years ago.
I don't know if, I don't recall. If you told me, I don't recall.
Yeah. So
You discovered you had a brother. Now, was this brother from your father? I think you might have. I think I kind of remember this. So tell me more about this. Now, you have a brother whose name is Sean.
no. My brother's name is Karanja. And my brother's basically like the male version of me. I love that guy. Older, because had he been younger, I would be an orphan right now. And so I was raised an only child, for basically all of my life. So a little after my 29th birthday, 3 years ago, a little after my 29th birthday, my father calls a family meeting. It was just me, him, and my mom. And he basically is like, yeah, just found this out. So the backstory is my brother's mother's cousin started working at my dad's job. And she sees my dad and, they remember each other from back in the day. And she says something to my father along the lines of so-and-so's son looks an awful lot like you. And my mother's like, I'm sorry, what? What she look like me? And so I was like, well, do you have her number? And gets her phone number. My father calls this woman who's his ex-girlfriend and says, hey, remember we broke up 30-something years ago? And when we broke up and you popped up pregnant months later and I asked you, is there any chance that this kid could be mine? And you said no, is that still the case? And she hit him with the, well... And my dad...
It's not all right.
It's not all right. And my dad is phenomenal. I love my daddy. He was a person who immediately jumped into dad mode. So he tried to keep it a secret or tried to figure it out. My dad does not handle stress well at all. So he was acting weird. So the house that I live in, is owned by my grandmother. My parents live on, it's a brownstone. My parents live in the upstairs apartment. I live on the downstairs. And my father, like when he's going through something emotionally, he can't sleep. So he's like pacing back and forth. And at one point I was like, what is your problem? And like, I can hear you walking every freaking night. Like, what is wrong? My mother is like, he'll talk when he's ready. So apparently he had told my mom. My mom was like, listen, we got to tell Shana. And my dad was so terrified to tell me. And so, when he finally did, and he like shows me a picture of my brother, and I see one photo and I went, oh yeah, that's your son. It's like, yeah, that's your kid.
So do you guys have interaction now?
Me and my brother?
Yeah.
Absolutely. My brother talks to my mother and my father like several times a week. I don't like the phone, so my brother knows not to call me. But
Where does he live?
in Rhode Island.
Okay.
Yeah, but we do text all the time, and that's the homie. Like, he's literally, like, I'm telling you, he's just me with a penis. That's all it is. A wrestling fan too. So my entire family is a wrestling family. So my grandmother, my mother, my uncle, my father, like my brother.
Now, is he a wrestling fan or is he a WWE fan?
No, he's a wrestling fan and a UFC MMA. He's trying to get me into MMA stuff, but yeah, he's trying so hard.
He's trying to get into the fandom of it or actually being an MMA fighter?
No, he's trying to get me into it.
Oh.
Like, he loves it. And so my brother has 4 kids. So my oldest nephew is actually in college right now in New York. So I don't hear from that little fool until, he needs money.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Sounds about right. And he can literally be like, Auntie, I'm dusty out here in these streets. And my nephew can get anything he wants from me in the world. And then so that's with his first like high school girlfriend. And then the other 3 kids, my other 2 nephews and my niece are with my brother's wife. And so like just watching them, by the time I met them, the youngest was like 9 years old. So, we didn't get to see them grow up, but like overnight, my mother and my father became grandparents. And I remember there was a time where I was almost a little, as much as I love my brother, I was a little resentful about that, because it was like, that's something I'm supposed to be giving to my parents. And I was like, I don't want to share my daddy. Like, who is this man? Like, Harpo, who this man? Like, I was very jealous for the smooth little time. Still found a way to like be accepting and love my brother, but I was resentful.
An only child.
I was. I still am. I mean,
because the idea of sharing my parents,
I'm not sharing,
has never crossed my mind.
Oh no, when I was a kid, when I like literally, so my cousins would come spend the summers with us. Either I was in North Carolina or they would be driven from North Carolina to New York. And my mother goes, no, you would get very jealous. Like if there's like, now there's 3 kids in the house. I don't share my parents. Those are mine. Like they're mine. They're my people. But
that's how slavery works. That's not how
not sharing them.
Regular
no.
human beings work.
Listen, we were 3 the hard way for the longest time, and then had to make space for my brother. It's like they're my unit. Like it's everything I do in this world is from my mother and my father. So like even the idea of like, okay, when am I gonna have a kid? So my grandmother, my dad's mom, has been plotting on my womb for years now. Asked me like, do you have any prospects, and then has now moved on to, she's fine if I don't get married, but she wants me to have a kid.
Sounds like my life right about now. Not with my parents, but I think other members of my family. It used to be, when are you gonna get married? And then I turned 30. Mm-hmm. It really was 31. And they started saying,
it shifts.
When are you going to have just kids? Now they just want me to have kids. Yep. The dynamic is a little different for me, being that I'm a man, obviously. Like I can have kids pretty much whenever.
I have a 21-year-old aunt, so.
Yeah. So it's. that would be so weird to me to have an aunt or an uncle that's younger than I am.
Yeah.
That would be fucking odd. Now, I got a question for you. You're a social media manager for the Griot.
Director.
Social media...
Director.
No, your exact title is what?
Social media director.
Social media director. Now, you're a social media director. If someone was trying to promote themselves effectively on Instagram, Facebook, any other platforms that they may be able to use, what would they need to do? Obviously, I imagine it depends on
the brand,
right?
Yeah,
and what you're
like, are you
promoting.
selling something?
But just in general, let's say hypothetically, I don't know, you're trying to promote a podcast. What would you do as a social media director? What would you advise them to do?
First, it has to be an amalgamation of things.
Let's say hypothetically, money was no object.
You absolutely need to invest in ads.
Okay.
Absolutely, that's the first thing.
Now, what kind of ads? What are we talking about? Ads where?
I mean, like if you want to just have if you're doing something on Instagram, do like a video clip of like a really funny moment of the podcast, and like you want to run that as an ad where people who are already your audience as well as anybody in a lookalike audience, so basically people who have the same social media behaviors as the people who already follow you, or what's probably the smart thing to do is expand it, like just have a very broad target almost. Not like you're not investing a bulk of money into the broad target. The broad target is only there for the purpose of like, let me just figure out who are the type of people that I'm attracting with my content.
Right.
And then from there, you hone in on that audience and those type of behaviors. And that's where you can put the bulk of your money.
So how would somebody go about doing that? Like, would you just market or promote those ads to a general audience? How would you see? Would you just check your analytics?
Yeah.
And let's say hypothetically it's on Instagram. You would just check your analytics through Instagram and then find what, like the region?
So there's things from like region you can find. They kind of took out like race demographics because,
I need to know that.
2016 elections. So there's a lot of things that have changed thanks to Facebook.
Yeah, they have, because in my Explore page, I see a lot of Republican Donald Trump shit. And I'm just like, why would you show me this?
Yeah. It's a lot of things have changed.
There's nothing about my Instagram page that says, anyway.
A lot of things
go ahead.
have changed. But they'll tell you like, they'll tell you ages. They'll tell you, again, demographics. They'll tell you like behaviors. So like, say if you have an audience that really loves The Office, like you'll see that that's one of the primary interests is like 85% of people who like watch The Office or have shown that they've liked The Office page or interacted with some kind of The Office content, they like your page. And then from there, that's where you basically take those insights and build your own separate audience.
Would it be wise for somebody to pay, let's say, and because obviously anyone who doesn't know, this podcast is a takeoff from The Office. It's inspired, going Mach 5. You hear the intro, whatever. Would it be wise, let's say, if there's an Office fan page that has...
That's absolutely somebody you want to target.
Like 10,000 followers.
Absolutely someone.
What about reaching out to them and paying
personally
them for okay.
Yeah. And then you say, hey, like I have this, da, da, da. And sometimes people will ignore the shit out of you. We get pitches for the Grill all the time. Man, I'll just be looking at them like, it's like, nah, it's not gonna work. Because ultimately what it comes down to is, what can you offer me?
Right.
Right? If I'm going to be promoting you, what can you offer me? Is it, because I'm doing you the favor.
Right.
So are you offering me money or are you offering me the opportunity to expand my own audience? Like that's one of those things.
Okay.
It's all very transactional.
I get it. That's why I gave the caveat. Let's just say money is not an issue.
Yeah. It gets weird. And then the thing is too, is like understanding the different platforms. So
okay, go ahead.
Like Facebook, the primary audience in Facebook, I like to call them the auntie. It's the auntie.
Yes,
babe.
that's exactly what it is. It didn't always used to be like that.
No. But
it is
like
now. Yep.
Facebook is the place where like my dad's on Facebook.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like my dad will like, you know, pull me to the side like, oh, did you see this joke or da da da? Like he just learned about memes. Like he's like, did you see this joke? And I'm like,
Somebody
I saw
taught my
that.
dad about emojis, and I love my dad so much. And this is a few years ago, but just out of nowhere, he just started like typing emojis.
Yeah.
And I'm
My
like,
dad
"Nigga,"
sends flame emojis all the time.
I'm just like,
I don't know what they're for.
I mean, I'm not mad at it because I love interacting with my father. Because not everyone has a dad that
That's
they can
right.
interact
That is
with.
very
So I'm
true.
very grateful for it.
Yes.
But I was like, Negro, who taught you this? Like,
I was like, who are you speaking to? So my mother has discovered Bitmojis.
oh my God.
Yeah, so my mother, so
That's charming once.
so my father hasn't discovered Bitmojis yet, but my mother has discovered Bitmojis, created her own Bitmoji, and now sends all of these things to me. And I'm like, just take the phone away.
So you would say pretty much, because obviously, I mean, if I'm being transparent, I'm referring to myself. If I were to, because I do the clips thing, you know, the clips thing is on, you know, I do either 2 or 3 highlight clips from each episode. And every episode is different because there are episodes where, and I talked about it on the last one that I just put up with my best friend Kamal, is that there are times where I'll sit with somebody and they're not loose yet. And I feel like, okay, I need to drive this conversation right now. So I go into my soliloquies and my diatribes, and it's very ego heavy. And I'm very well aware of that. I'm not oblivious to that. If you haven't seen that episode, please go see it because I do address my first negative comment.
Okay. Oh God.
And it was awesome. And I deleted it, and I'm mad that I deleted it because it was negative, but it was constructive. And I even said it in the last episode. I'm gonna take the comment. I already have a picture of it. I'm gonna put it on a shirt. I'm just gonna wear a shirt. And also I'm gonna take the comment, blow it up just a little bit, put it on set. So I'll always be able to look at it. And I guess what I'm curious about is obviously there are ads for Facebook. There are ads for Instagram. Now, me being on the outside looking in, it seems like Facebook ads are not nearly as beneficial as Instagram ads. Is that accurate or am I wrong?
Depending on who you want your audience to be.
If
you're looking for a millennial audience, Instagram is your best bet.
Okay.
If you skew a little older, Facebook. And here's the other thing though too. As much shit as we talk about Facebook, Facebook still has the biggest audience of all of the platforms.
Right.
Like everybody has a freaking Facebook. Like even, you know, everybody has a freaking Facebook. Niggas might not use it, but, but everybody has a Facebook. Twitter. So Twitter is one of those platforms that's tricky. It's real tricky. And
this podcast has a Twitter. I made one. I have not tweeted once. Like I put the logo up. I was kind of like, all right, well, I'll probably just connect the Instagram for the podcast to the Twitter. So when I put up posts, people can see it that way. I might tweet from it as things build steam. But it's not something actively, it's not an active construct at the moment.
Unless you have a unlimited budget. I personally don't recommend that people invest in Twitter. And it's like, Twitter is one of those platforms that you need to have your niche.
You already got to be established.
Yeah, like, well, no, not even established. Like, just have your niche. Like, so, you know, like there's Black Twitter, there's wrestling Twitter, there's Shea Butter Twitter, there's Hotep Twitter, there's, you know, there's MAGA Twitter, there's these different universes that exist on this one platform. Now, say if I am a fashion blogger,
right?
I don't need to be on what am I tweeting?
So what would you be on instead?
On
Instagram?
Twitter?
Instagram?
Yeah, absolutely on Instagram if you're a fashion blogger.
How effective are Instagram ads?
Very effective.
At what point, because, you know, there's different price points in terms of, because I've looked at them, obviously, different price points in terms of marketing and having IG ads. At what point does it become, how do I want to say this? I want to word this the right way. At what point is it redundant? Like, can you ever pay too much for marketing on Instagram? Like, because with all the different tiers they have, like I know people who have had success with tier 2, where they just pay, I only want it for this amount of days. And then I know people who are just like, I'm gonna throw as much money as I can at it. I'm fortunate enough that financially I'm doing well. So a budget to, and by financially doing well, I mean bags. But what I want to do is, as far as marketing and promotion, I've looked at, like I said, the Instagram stuff, and I'm curious as to what is feasible in terms, what can I expect to get out of an Instagram ad?
So there's different objectives that you literally are filling out like as you're designing this ad. So it's like, are you trying to drive website clicks? Are you trying to drive profile views? Profile views those are for the people who are basically like trying to be influencers, because then it's like the more profile views and followers that I have, that's more likely I'm going to get sponsorships and, money. What's the other objective? There's, if you're actually like selling a product, there's an objective for that on an Instagram ad. Okay. So I think if you're saying like, oh, is there ever like too much money that you can, throw at it? I will say this. You have to be so strategic about who you're targeting, how often you're targeting these people. Now, so for me, and I know that this is not the behavior of like the average user, but because I work in marketing, I'm just like, I know the tricks and I get fed up of them a lot easier. So if I'm like served an ad 3-4 times, I will go and like, I will pick the little option of like, I don't want to see this anymore. And I will actively do that. I was like, I don't like this brand, block this. I don't want to see that. I think I got like served a random ass Mach ad with some like Getty stock image Black people on it. And I was like, what behavior did I exhibit that was able to that they picked me of all people? And you know how I am. Did
the Black people have a rifle over one hand and a Bible in the other? Is that what it was? They have a Confederate flag shirt.
It was like, say, they put like, I think they like photoshopped like some like Make America Great Again, whatever nonsense in the back. And I mean, once you get a stock photo, you can
do whatever.
You can do whatever you want with it. You can manipulate whatever you want with it. And it was just like the caption. I was like, what? How did I get this? Which is so funny because now even like my Explore page, and I try and usually not to go on my Explore page. My Explore page is literally like funny animal videos, babies, wrestling, hair. And that's like, that's all I interact with.
I think my Explore page is like fitness, like bodybuilding stuff, women, but not thoughts.
Okay.
I actually have some.
No Instagram hotties.
No, I actually have some of them blocked preemptively.
Like, I don't need to see
True story. I got tired of seeing Brittany Renner. Like, I blocked her.
I understand that, yeah. Just take her off.
I blocked her because I was tired of seeing her on my Explore page.
All the Kardashians are blocked from my stuff.
I don't know if Kim is blocked from... No, Kim is not blocked from mine. Like, she gives a shit. But Kim is not blocked from mine. But Brittany Renner is. I got so many, like, Republican pages blocked. And here's the thing. It's not because they're Republican. It's because...
They're obnoxious.
Because I don't... Like, someone who's not blocked is Jordan Peterson or Ben Shapiro.
Okay.
I disagree with both of those guys 95% of the things they say. I think Jordan Peterson has a very unique insight to a lot of the things that he says. And I think there's a lot of merit to him and a lot of merit to the things he says. And I would love to one day sit down and talk to him about it. And it's really the same for Ben Shapiro. I disagree with Ben Shapiro on pretty much everything he says, not 100%, but pretty much everything. But I love the fact that he says, and this might not be a direct quote, and I don't want to get it wrong, facts don't care about your feelings.
That's absolutely true.
And I love the way that he'll approach something and speak very matter-of-factly about it. Now, facts not caring about your feelings doesn't change the fact that sometimes you can take the fact and let it, and you let that, I don't want to call it confirmation bias, but it's almost what it is. Yeah. You'll take the facts and let that push the narrative that you want to push, as opposed to someone else taking facts and pushing it the other way. For example, just like with Michael Brown and what happened in Ferguson, the narrative that was, the story that was being told was Michael Brown had his hands in the police officer's car window.
Yep.
And everyone kept saying that until someone else, a black person, if I recall correctly, said, well, how does hands get in the window? Like, it's easy.
Why? Like, I'm not going to put my,
Right.
especially as a black man, as a young black man, I'm not
easy
doing that.
to portray it like,
Yeah.
like if I tell you, oh, his hands were in the window, you know what you're doing because you're painting it in a way like, well, he must have put his hands in the window.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily jumping to the conclusion for you, but they're allowing you to do it.
Lack of common sense.
It's the same way that, and when someone else brought it up, well, how does hands get in the window? They say, what do you mean? Well, was he grabbed? Was he pulled? That's also a possibility. But see, a lot of people don't have that critical thought to think that way. And general media knows that people don't. So they paint things the way that they want to.
So let me tell you something. Working in social media, I pray for the rapture on so many occasions because people are dumb. Like it's alarming how stupid people are. And I'm like really freaking dumb. Like to the point where, most recent example, so, we've been following this Amber Geiger trial, which also, did you hear like one of the key witnesses just got killed?
Sure did.
Shot in the mouth and the chest.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about it in a second.
But anywho, so the Amber Geiger trial thing happens, and so she gets sentenced to the 10 years. And there's a video clip of there's a black deputy, I don't know, like an officer in the court, who you see her like, we're like, is she consoling her? Like, it was after the verdict was read. And she is like fixing her hair. She's fixing Amber Geiger's hair, like combing her hair. And, people rightfully got upset about it. They're like, yo, like, what is this mammy shit that you're doing right now? Like taking care of this white woman. And we posted a story about it. And I try. So, I mean, I have like my social media team. So people, on certain subjects, the griot will respond back. Sometimes that's me, sometimes that's my team. Like, whatever. So people kept jumping into the story of like, well, no, she was checking for contraband. That's what that was. She was just doing her job. The griot, you're fucked up for doing this. Like trying to turn on this black woman. First off, again, and this is where I get so annoyed, where I'm like, you do recognize we are a black-owned media outlet. The entire company is black people. Like, it's owned by Byron Allen. We have people who are like, but it used to be owned by NBC, and like I think the founders were white. And people are like, yeah, there's one of those white-owned companies. They're like, bitch, Google would save you from being loud and wrong on the internet. Like,
people love being loud and wrong.
But Google, I don't like to speak on things unless I know that they're fact. I don't like to be wrong. I don't like to admit that I'm wrong. I avoid it.
Don't.
You know I don't.
Yeah,
I avoid that shit like the plague if I can. I don't like it. So if I'm coming at you with a fact. So we have in the article, it's 2 different videos embedded of the scene happening with this woman, and with this officer and the woman's in Amber Geiger's hair. People are like, that's just contraband, whatever. And so I was like, you know what? So one of my team members sees this and she's like, what the fuck? Like, these people are dumb as fuck. And I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to comment.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
It's like, I'm going to comment. So I come back and I have like a longer video from a like local news network that is in the courtroom at the time. And you see her, Amber Geiger, the sentence gets read, Amber Geiger's crying. And we all saw those white women tears. We all saw that. Amber Geiger's crying.
It does not faze me.
You see the officer, she walks over. Amber Geiger has a box of tissues in front of her. She walks over and grabs like paper towels. Like these, like little cheapy, little fold over paper towels. grabs those and hands them to Amber Geiger and then tells her, oh, like, pat your face. So I was like, are we preserving the bitch's makeup? Like, okay, cool. And then she walks up to her and then starts doing the combing of the hair. And I'm like, that is not, first off, checking for contraband, number one, that happens before you enter the
Yeah, it doesn't
the
happen
courtroom.
now.
That happens before you enter the courtroom, number one.
course.
Number two, I'm not running my fingers through your hair without gloves, ma'am, if I'm checking for contraband. And then so another guy who hadn't seen the longer video was like, oh no, like clearly you guys didn't see, like, what were the napkins used for? Like she was doing a mouth check. You fucking moron. Like, what are you talking about?
We live in an age where people would much rather be opinionated
Than accurate.
than informed.
It's infuriating.
That's just a general consensus of just people in general. I'll even go back to it, the negative comment that I got, which if you watched the episode, like whatever. But the guy pretty much said, in essence, he said textbook egomaniac. Now that makes me curious because I'm wondering, like, are you a therapist? Like, are you a psychiatrist? Are you a psychologist? For you to say textbook,
that means
like
so you studied
know
up
some
on
things.
you know
like,
something.
and if that's the case,
Help
awesome.
me.
I would love for you to analyze me
Yeah.
and tell me textbook what other issues I got going on.
Yeah,
I mean, I got a therapist that already does that, but
I do too. She's amazing.
yeah. So the people in general are very, very dumb. And I get that. I think, and I'm sure I don't really leave comments on social media like that because I don't want people to be in my notifications. I did something really innocuous like 2 years ago when the Eagles played the Falcons in the playoffs, and Julio tripped or got tripped, however you want to view it, and the guy was riding his back and not letting him up, and that should have been called pass interference. And that clip got posted maybe a few months ago, and it was on the Eagles fan page. It was in my Explore page, and I saw it, and he was like, "Yeah, here's what happened last time we played the Falcons." Blah blah blah. And they showed it, and then I commented simply 3 characters: P.I. Period. It's P.I. It's easily pass interference.
Yeah.
And then like my notifications blew up. People saying, "How is it PI? How is it PI?" And I'm like, "Okay, I get it.
Do you guys not know sports?
You guys are you're Philly fans. You don't want to say anything.
Do you not know sports?
First of all, you're fans of that team, and then on top of that, like I said, you're Philly fans.
Yeah.
So in terms of being aggressive,
My best friend Autumn is an avid Eagles fan.
Jesus. You know what? I trade places with an Eagles fan right now because they can at least say they actually beat Tom Brady. But we're gonna go past that. And we're gonna move on because they lost again today.
Yes, they did. And they lost last week.
I watched the game today, and it's weird because there are times with the team, and I have to remind myself of this. Some years we're like awful, and then literally the next year,
amazing.
We're amazing.
So, did I ever tell you about like my most heartbreaking experience as a Falcons fan?
If it wasn't the Super Bowl,
it was absolutely the Super Bowl.
Okay.
I flew from New York to Atlanta.
I gotta be honest. Do not want to talk about this.
Okay. No, but I'm just gonna say this: flew from New York to Atlanta to road trip with my 2 girls who are the biggest fucking. I started watching football and became a Falcons fan because of these 2, like diehard Georgia girls, and we road tripped to Houston.
Yeah.
And then when we road trip back, had to stop in New Orleans. You knew it was bad when Saints fans were like, how y'all holding up?
Not too well. Bad. And then the next year, or maybe the year after, I was asking Saints fans, how you holding up?
How you holding up? You okay?
Like, no, it was the next year and the year after I had to ask Saints fans that. People asked me and said, "Man, your team going to the Super Bowl?" I don't want to talk about this.
Like, we're not going to talk about this.
I didn't go out to any bars or anything. I sat right in front of my television, like in one little chair. And when it was the third quarter and it was 28-3, I legitimately said, "This game is not over with."
Nope.
I legitimately said to myself out loud, "This game is not over with."
Nope.
And I said, if Tom Brady comes back, he is the greatest of all time.
Yep. No, I said, I don't even know if I told my girls this. We were watching, it's like a house party. Like we're watching and we were turning up the first half. Turn it up. And then when things started to change, when there was a shift in the tide, and I went to the bathroom. When I tell you, I got on my knees in this in the stranger's bathroom to pray, and I was like, wait a minute, and I literally went, if those motherfuckers win, they got to pack with the devil. You can't tell me anything else.
God didn't hear you. God forgot about you.
No, our homies who were in Atlanta and at like a strip club were like, yo, after that game, they're like, the strip club shut down. Like the energy was just off.
The Falcons are the girl. When people talk about, I was at my barber and this guy was just like, the Falcons are like that girl that always lets you down. One day you gotta let her go. And I said, nah, the Falcons are like my kids. Like, you disappoint the shit out of me. But
I can't. I love you. Damn it, I gotta keep you around.
Like, and I might even be mad at you.
And I'ma still root for you.
But here's the thing. In another space, the analogy is accurate, I think. Mm-hmm. The Falcons are, to me, they were like the girl that you meet and you think she's amazing. Mm-hmm. And everyone tells you, dog, she's a cheater. She's gonna cheat on you. She cheats on every guy she's ever been with. And I'm like, no, it's gonna be different this time. She's not gonna do me like that. And then when they lost, and when I heard Joe Buck say, I don't want to talk about that. Now I'm talking about it. When I heard Joe Buck say the New England Patriots win the Super Bowl, I just turned my TV off. Matter of fact, I used that remote that's right there. Mm-hmm. Turned the TV off, walked into my bedroom, laid down on my bed, looked up at the ceiling for like a good 45 minutes. Didn't move. Because
you think of your life choices. You run back the game in your head. Like, when did it go wrong?
I started laughing hysterically because I said, y'all did it to me again. Mm-hmm. Right? And here's the thing. Here's the thing. You look back at it and you say, why did you let everyone be right about you? Everyone said, but these are the Falcons. These are the Falcons. You know what they do. These are the Falcons.
The Falcons falconing again.
Like, you know what they do. And I was like, nah, this year going to be different. They're not going to do it. Anyway.
We got it.
Okay. So what would you suggest if someone were to, let's say someone were to be starting a podcast, or if someone had, I don't know, twin nephews that they wanted to put on the internet, what would you suggest in terms of their marketing to organically, I got another follow-up question to this, in terms to organically growing their audience, and how quickly should they see a growth? What's a normal amount or rate of growth for a brand?
In terms of an audience size?
In terms of, let's say, followers on Instagram.
It can take a while. So I'll give you an example. So for me, when I started at the Griot, they hadn't had a social media director in about 6-7 months. Mm-hmm. When I started, the followers were, and I'm on my year anniversary with the Griot. When I started, they had maybe 55,000 followers on Instagram.
Okay.
I've never done, I think only one, but they were like ads specifically for some of our sponsors, like, our clients that we had to put ads up for. But all of our content is all organic.
Right.
In a year, I've grown the audience. Right now, we're at, I think, almost 82,000 today. Mm-hmm. So, and that's still pretty slow growth. Like only getting like maybe like 30,000 followers in 12 months, all organic, but it's like, and again, it's just about the content. So like, honestly, your nephews are probably going to get followers way faster than you.
I believe it 1,000%.
Absolutely going to get followers way faster than you. Cute little babies.
Without a question.
Cute little babies. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why I was like, oh, if I ever have a kid, and and it's so weird. I'm like, because I work in social media, I'm like, I know how awful social media can be. Mm-hmm. So I have this theory of like, I was like, I would have a kid. I would not show my kid online for a time.
My sister was very timid about that at first too.
I would not show my kid online for a time. I would probably have like a private Instagram account, and even that I'm kind of weird. Like I'm like I'm suspicious of everything, so I'm like I don't want cameras recognizing my baby's face, So I'll probably have like a private like family and friends only Instagram account because sometimes people just want to live vicariously through you. Just watch your kids grow.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? I have plenty of Instagram nieces and nephews. I ain't never seen that baby in my life, but I've seen that child grow. Yeah, like I would probably do that. But in all honesty, if I had a really cute kid with a really dynamic personality, oh no, we getting this money.
Of course.
Like there's one of my favorite little brands to follow. Her name is Jade Camille. She became a little influencer because her mom works in the Army. Her mom's name is Carrie. Her mom works in is part of the Army, but
I'm familiar.
With Jade and just like combing her hair,
hair
like,
videos.
yeah, girl, he crazy, right? Like, it is so adorable. Jade is like 3 or 4 now. I've watched this little girl grow, and now Jade has a little sister named Avery. I follow the entire family, and they have a YouTube channel that I know they're trying to grow. Now, for me, I'm not a YouTube girl.
Really?
I don't like YouTube that much.
Okay.
There's literally only 2 brands that I actively follow on YouTube. And that's Jackie Aina for makeup things. And another guy named LaGuardia Cross who does this show called New Father Chronicles with him and his 2 daughters. And we've seen it started as New Father Chronicles. He was having his first baby, and Amala was having his first baby, and like he does these hilarious videos with the kids, with the girls, like, and he just chronicles his life. So we've seen Amala grow from like a week. The first time we saw her, she was days old, to now she's 4.
So you've seen those brands grow
fast,
organically.
Yeah. But there's a market for those.
Do you feel like, and this might be a stupid question, I apologize if it is. This is actually my follow-up question. Fake followers. What is your opinion?
They get you nowhere. The thing is,
because I know that the way the algorithm, there's one thing I do know. I don't know much. It's me trying to show some very rare humility. I don't know much, but I do know if you purchase fake followers, yes, you might get 10,000 followers. But a lot of your content, when popping up on people's feeds or explore pages, it pops up on the feeds and explore pages of ghost accounts. So you're not being seen by everyone. Aside from that, what are your thoughts?
So when Instagram and being an Instagram, Vine, even Twitter, and being an influencer became a thing, and YouTube, absolutely YouTube. When they became a thing, it was how many followers do you have? That was a big thing. Now, I think we've gotten smarter, especially big brands. We've gotten smarter. We don't really care about the followers. We care about the overall engagements.
Okay.
So because you can have, and there are plenty of people who do, you can have 150,000 followers, but any given picture that you post, you have 230 something likes.
I've seen that.
You're like, what the fuck? Like, so one of my girls, who was amazing, and she dead ass is an influencer right now, still humble as pie, but I love it, like, just a big influencer. They flying this bitch out to Iceland. Like, just for random shit. Her birthday celebration, they flew her out here to Atlanta and just was treating her at the Marriott. Like, it was like, what? Like, you just getting free swag and shit? Her name is Blake Von D. I think her new handle is Signed Blake. When she started, she basically started as like a DIY like person. Like she's so fucking creative when it comes to everything. Like, I mean, she was teaching me how to make, shorts out of some jeans that had a rip in them. I'm like, all right, that ain't hard. Like wallpaper in my house, like all of these random things. And I think maybe she has like 30,000 followers, maybe. And of those, but if she like posts any like given picture, she has like over, like several thousand photos or
So
comments
her
or something like
engagement
that. Her
is
engagements
accurate.
are high. So at least then as a brand, why I care about that is that actually means I don't give a fuck about your followers. Why I care about that is that tells me that your brand, you have a cult following.
Right.
That means that people actually take you at your word
Now
for what you're doing.
That is something I've noticed with the podcast that I do listen to.
Yeah.
I don't listen to T-Fat K, the fighter and the kid, as much as I used to. I don't listen to the Joe Rogan Experience as much as I used to. I occasionally, it depends on who the guest is. Like when he had Kevin Hart, I listened to that one. When he had Cornel West.
He just did some fat shaming shit the other day, so I'm good. Joe Rogan.
Oh, I love fat shaming. It's great.
No, we're not doing that.
Fat shaming is awesome.
Body positivity is a thing.
Like I fat, but see, here's the thing. Who did he fat shame?
I can't remember.
Was it a guy or a girl?
Girl.
Yeah, you can't fat shame a girl. You can fat shame a guy nowadays all day and people don't care.
yeah.
Yeah, he's fat. Hey, body positivity. No, you're a guy. It doesn't count. Cornel West, Kevin Hart, I think he had someone else on recently that I liked. Whenever he has Ben Shapiro on, I listen to it. Whenever he has Jordan Peterson on, I'll listen to it. Jordan Peterson actually has a quote that I absolutely love, and this is kind of a different subject, but he says, liberals need conservatives to tell them when things need to stay the same. And conservatives need liberals to tell them when things need to change. And it's a very healthy balance. At least it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But nowadays we get into this mind frame where I'm smart, you're dumb, and nothing ever gets worked out because of it. Which I love that. Anyway, I digress. Yeah, what was I talking about? I was talking about something before. Yeah, I don't listen to Joe Rogan as much as I used to. I don't listen to T-Fat K as much as I used to. I don't even know if they still do 10-minute podcasts, but I love Your Mom's House with Christina P. and Tom Segura, and they have a very loyal fan base. Like they have terminology for fans, like they have inside jokes that they've been running with forever. So now there's certain phrases that if you say to me, I'm going to associate them with the show.
Yeah.
Not just like if you were to say, hey, try it out. I'm thinking of the show. I'm not thinking about the innocuous phrase. And example, Tom had a bad experience at a Chinese restaurant. And I'll spare you the story. But when he talked about it, I think he talked about it on the podcast, like the fans went to like the restaurant, the Yelp page,
go talk shit,
and and went at him or whatever. And they openly talk about when they do number 2. They openly talk about their defecation, and they said, like Tom talks about how the bidet is the best thing ever. He was like, dude, I got a hairy asshole. Like I need this bidet.
Clean it out.
But they said, and if you go, they said, you can get a tushy from Amazon, like $60, $70.
Yep.
And it made me like just go look it up. And like if you look at the reviews and the comments that they have for them, the reviews are
was brought here by
hey mommies, like it was like, hey mommies, it's me, so and so. Tom and Christina were spot on with this, and thanks, Jeans. And those are all inside jokes from that podcast.
It's literally like, so there are two, technically 3 influencers who have that. So have you ever heard of Superset?
Yes. Okay,
so Superset, she that broad, I remember when she was just doing funny ass videos, just telling like random sex stories and shit. But she has a cult following, and to the point where she started her business, The Crayon Case, and the girl sold she made $1 million in under 7 minutes or something like that. Like it was the craziest thing ever. Like she became a millionaire, and it's to the point she used to do cooking with Supa. And just with show the little things that she was using, here's an air fryer, or to this product that I was using. And then you'd go to the fucking stores and them shits be sold out. Like Amazon, I got a pair of knives from Amazon just because I saw Supa had them. I was like, oh, those are cute. And I literally went and got them. Same thing with Blake. she had these jeans that everybody fell in love with, and she like had simply just put the link to where she bought the jeans because people kept asking her about it. Fucking jeans were sold out by the next day. And then you have people like who are, I love these people, Kid Fury and Crystal of the Read podcast. Now just think like Fury really got started on YouTube because he had his YouTube channel and was doing Furious Thoughts. And he was, you know, was like one of the original bloggers. And so when they came into the podcast space, because podcasts weren't popping like that.
Right.
When I think it's been like 6-7 years since they've been doing the Read. Podcasts were not popping 6-7 years ago. So they got in at a really great time. And then, you know, they started to the point where they're doing live shows. They're touring. And now they have a fucking show at my old job, which I should sue those motherfuckers because that was my idea that I pitched 2 years ago. The Read on Fuse is a show I pitched 2 freaking years ago, and now magically here it is. Well, I'm no longer working there. I'm kind of living.
Now I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I relate to you. I'm not making this about me. I relate to that pain more than you know. And this is what I'll say. And I'm gonna be very vague on purpose. There was a show that I had. It was my idea. I was developing it. I was in talks with a network about getting it on television. I pitched exactly what the idea was. It says, great. Through a series of events, it ended up not happening. Okay. 2 years later, I look on, I was about to say the channel. I look at this channel and they're debuting this show. That's exactly what I pitched. It's just a different person. Now, here's the thing. The person who's starring in this show, and if you know where I live and you know what experiences I've had, you can probably piece together what channel this is and what show this is. The person who's like the main part of this show is somebody that I'm very fond of, like creatively, very fond of this person. But it's hard for me. I can't watch the show. First of all.
Oh,
I can't even hear about it.
I was like, you know how badly I want to watch it? I was like, I refuse to confuse my goddamn.
When
You would
people
not
say,
get my
when people say
ratings.
like, yo, like, do you watch, you know, XYZ on this channel? I'm like,
Nope.
no, I haven't gotten a chance to.
I do not.
Because I feel some sort of way. Because I'm like, that was my show. But it's fine. We'll move forward. I'm over it. But it is a thing that happened.
Still a little salty.
So you would say, in terms of promotion, in terms of Instagram, put together clips from the show. If someone were to want to do that, put together funny clips from the show and promote those clips. How important is IGTV?
IGTV is still up in the air.
How important are
you can't do ads on IGTV.
How important are Instagram stories? Okay, now here's a bigger question. If you're somebody like me who wants the option to swipe up to see more in the Instagram story, but I don't have 10,000 followers yet, you're pretty much, I'm presuming here, and you can correct me, you're pretty much saying, wait till you have 10,000 and get that option. Because I've seen guys do this. I've seen guys buy 10,000 followers just so they can get that option, and then just use that just so they can get the option to further promote their brand. What are your thoughts on something like that?
I wouldn't waste the money.
So you would say get organic followers.
Focus, I would say.
So the swipe up option is not like, it's helpful, obviously.
It's helpful.
Because I notice it in stories like the comedians I follow. There's one podcast I love, Two Bears, One Cave, with Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura. Tom Segura has like a few podcasts, obviously. When I swipe and Bert is talking about his shows, hey, I'm going to be at the Atlanta Improv or the LA Improv or New York, blah, blah.
Take you to the tickets.
Yeah. He'll say, swipe up to see more. And I'm like, oh, I can buy tickets, blah, blah, blah. I want the option to have a highlight clip. I do the editing right now until I get a producer. I have the dimensions and everything for the IG story, and I got the graphics. It's a real, like, people think it's just on the outside looking in, you might think, oh, it's just a startup. No, I've invested a lot in this. Obviously, you can look around and see that. But I want the option to, swipe up to go straight to the YouTube link for the episode, or the iTunes link or whatever. So you would say how often? No, I think this is a better question because I've gone through the process of paying for the ads before without actually going through with it. Now it's daily on Instagram, right? Like it's like you get charged daily.
You can. There are different parameters.
Different. Okay. What categories should I typically go for? You say you want it would be important to be more broad at first, at least, and then look at the analytics.
Comedy is always big.
Comedy.
Comedy is always big.
Okay.
If you have anything that is like pro-black shit, it's always big. If you're doing fashion, anything, always big. And kids. Like the mommy brigade is a huge market, and then you have like bitches like me who are childless but we just like seeing babies.
And this is a true story.
and animals.
I don't know how this is going to work out. I actually do plan on. I'm working the logistics out. I don't know how this is going to work, but I do plan on getting my nephews on the podcast. I want Alex to sit in that little chair with his little legs dangling.
Go find LaGuardia Cross and watch, go to his New Father Chronicles channel, and you'll see when he's with his kids are very small. Amala's 4. And, God, what is the other baby's name? Nayeli. Nayeli is 1. And he does interviews with these babies. Just watch.
It'll be a very fascinating thing. I think in terms of just promoting, if I'm going to promote something or someone or a particular highlight video, because I have a plan where I typically do 2 or 3 highlight videos from each podcast. It's really kind of tricky because if I'm pulling back the curtain a little bit, I know that at some point during every podcast that I record,
breaking the fourth wall.
It's like, yeah, I absolutely am. I know there's going to be a certain point where I'm like, okay, I need to talk like this is going to be on Instagram. Like this is going to be the Instagram story, or this is going to be the Instagram highlight, or whatever. Now, if my guest shares something very interesting, then okay, that's going to be there as well. So basically, I need to go for comedy because it's accurate and just be as general as possible. And then
you don't invest a whole lot into that first bucket. That bucket is just to discover who the audience is. Now, I wouldn't invest more than $100, if that.
So how many days should I run it to see?
So Instagram and Facebook too, like they'll have the option of, they'll tell you how many people you can reach with how much you're spending in the time spent, the time that you're doing it.
So how many people would you suggest?
What's your goal, to get to 10,000 followers?
My goal is to get to fucking 20 million followers. I want to be Shana Kardashian.
Your short-term goal is to get 10,000 followers. I would say it's probably anywhere from like, the other thing is too, you also don't want to bring timeline fatigue to your followers or to anybody.
Timeline fatigue.
Timeline fatigue is if I see the same thing over and over again, I'm going to opt to not see it anymore.
Not see it, right. Okay.
Or I'm going to block the brand.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So I usually only keep ads running for like anywhere from like maybe max 4 to 5 days, max. But I usually just do like a good 2 to 3.
And that's for any particular ad. So you say 4 or 5 days max, but typically 2 to 3. But how many people?
How many people what?
You said, I mean, because there are different tiers to how many people you...
It varies because honestly, Instagram has its own algorithm. They'll tell you like...
No, I mean, how many people do you want to target? Like when you... because
it'll tell you like, oh, you'll probably reach 3,000 people if you're spending, $20 a day for this, or you'll only reach 1,000 to 3,000 people if you spend this for this particular amount of time. So
I'm asking you, like, let's say money wasn't an issue. How many people, because you say you don't want to spend too much and you don't want to have...
Not for the discovery audience. No.
Right. And you don't want to have it run too long. So let's say, I don't know, I do 3 days. I have one particular video. I want to promote this for 3 days. And IG tells me you'll reach, I don't know if this is an absurd number, you can correct me, 10,000 people.
Probably not, but okay. Like depending on how much you're spending.
Okay, so how many, I guess what I'm saying is, what's plausible? What's feasible? What will stop me from getting timeline fatigue? What's the sweet spot what could possibly be the sweet spot. I know it's not an exact science.
Mm-hmm.
What's the sweet spot where there's no timeline fatigue, but you're also getting the most accurate numbers you can for who your audience is?
If you're just starting out, again, probably wouldn't put anything more than $100. Run it maybe 2-3 days. You'll probably be able to reach like a max of 8,000 to 10,000 people.
So pretty much, whatever $100 totals.
And understand though, reach does not guarantee engagement
right.
or followers.
So whatever $100 buys in the 3-day time period is what I should go for.
You take those insights and you determine, okay, who actually was fucking with my shit? Like, because it'll tell you anything from like, oh, like if people like, well, actually, I don't remember if Instagram does this. I know Facebook does. Like, they'll tell you when people drop off of your video. Like, so if like you have a 60-second video and you know, like people are cutting out at like second number 7, you're like, all right, well, what the hell was going on in the first 7 seconds?
Yeah, YouTube does that.
Yeah.
When I
like,
look at my YouTube analytics.
It's like, shit, what was going on here? Yeah.
So 2 or 3 days.
Yeah,
and,
2 or 3 days.
And then don't spend more than $100.
Yeah.
Just for the discovery.
Yeah.
And then after that, I pretty much just decide, okay, target specifically that.
Like if you realize like people in fucking the Caribbean are really fucking with your shit, then you should probably hit up those people in the Caribbean.
Let me tell you something. When I was, balls deep in the music industry, I would check the analytics for my music and see who was listening to my beats. And a lot of them were from Europe. It was very interesting to see like, oh man, somebody in Europe is listening to my stuff. Like a lot of people.
I remember a lot of the shit goes like word of mouth.
Yeah.
So.
You ready to do some current events?
Yes.
Told you we were going to talk about this later. Now, witness in ex-Dallas officer's murder, trial shot and killed. I don't like that headline. You need to say Amber Geiger. Her name needs to be everywhere, first of all. Second, Joshua Brown. His name needs to be everywhere as well. Now, witness in ex-Dallas officer's murder, trial shot and killed. Let me blow this up. Now, your first reaction, thoughts? I'm gonna keep mine. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. I'm gonna keep mine succinct.
The police killed him.
You would be a fool to think that this is just some random act of violence.
He got shot in the mouth and chest. What? That was personal.
Of course it was.
And he was and again, key witness. Bitch, I lived across the hall from this man.
Yep.
What? And remember, he said he was afraid that he would be targeted.
Yep.
After testifying. And now here we are.
Yep.
But we out here hugging. All right, okay. Just,
now,
like, oh, you know what? Actually, let's talk about that because I did a Facebook status about this.
Talking about when the judge hugged Amber Geiger?
The judge and just in general, like the families, everyone but Botham's mom. Because I remember when Botham Jean's mother called that woman the devil in one of her first like press whatever's that she did, as well as because when Dallas PD was trying to besmirch Botham's name and talking about weed and all this other stuff. First off, don't do that. She entered his home.
Right.
But like the brother and the father forgiving her and, oh, I don't want you to go to jail. Can I hug you? And his father said something like, we can like, maybe one day we could be friends or da-da. I'm sorry. Absolutely not. God forbid anything happens to me, any one of my family, friends.
I've gone off on this. I went off on this the last episode. I'm not going to retread the tires, but what I will say is my sister ain't never hugging the person that murdered me. That's number one. And number two, I've gone.
Because that's what he would want.
Right.
No, it's not.
Fuck, no, it's not what I would want. Kayla, you better not hug the person that murders me.
Quite frankly, I'd be surprised that person make it a trial.
I don't give a damn.
How'd they get there?
I don't give a damn about no religion. I'm not a religious person by any stretch of the imagination. But what I touched on previously was when you are a black person, the kid is young. His brother is young. Botham's brother is young. He's 18. When I was 18, I was still a Christian.
Yes.
I'm not a Christian anymore because of a lot of reasons.
Things change, yeah.
But I'm able to process things a little bit differently and able to look at things logically and say, I don't agree with this. I don't follow this way of thinking. And also historically, that's not people who look like me's way of thinking. Now, moving forward, I'm not going to go too far into this, but what I will say is as far as he goes, I give him a pass for being young. Whatever. If that's where he is at his life right now, maybe in 5-10 years, he'll look back on it and be like, yo, like,
that was stupid.
right. Especially when you're doing a public forum like that, there are white people who this will happen again because it will. And there are white people who say, well, he was able to forgive, turn the other cheek like he did and forgive and blah. No. And I didn't hear what the dad said, so I can't comment on that. But what I will say is, did you see the other video of that judge hugging Amber? Okay.
Highly inappropriate.
Now, apparently, the judge hugged Botham's family. Amber went in for a hug. The judge hesitated and gave her a hug.
Okay.
Now, in context, that makes it better.
Okay.
Someone filed a complaint against her, but not for the hug.
Okay.
The hug was whatever. I don't like it, but the hug was whatever. And I can imagine, just putting myself in her shoes.
Optics.
I can imagine I gave a hug to the family and now she's going at me for a hug and I'm like, shit. Because you got to look at the other side.
Yeah.
If she didn't hug her.
Oh, look at that judge was.
Exactly.
Oh,
exactly.
mistrial.
Right. Exactly. It looks like the judge may have had some type of biases, whatever. But if you do hug her, obviously the optics are what they are now. Now, what people complained about, like literally filed a complaint on, was she gave Amber a Bible and told her, this is your homework. You have to start here, John 3:16. This is a very controversial opinion. I'm going to say it. Backlash be damned. Black people are, I will say this, some black people and their dynamic with their religion is very, very interesting to me. That's as far as I'll go with it. Now, moving right along, because we're running long.
Okay. I had said in my status that it's really funny that we can, so many good and value Christians can find the opportunity to, forgive and empathize and blah, blah, blah. And, that's their healing and all this other stuff. And you can find empathy for a woman who it was proven that she has a bias.
Right.
She has a bias. She
has
has
a
a
history.
racist bias, a very historical, racist bias. I was like, trans people, they're an abomination. Gay people and lesbians are abominations. I said, you know what? That's funny.
They didn't have funny. I didn't see any empathy to.
That's real funny.
I asked a guy once. I was like, "Do you have empathy to Colin Kaepernick or
nope?
Because you didn't.
Nope. You didn't have none of this.
You just said you better not kneel for my anthem. Well, you mad at the method and not the reason. But whatever. Okay. Do films like Joker endorse or even promote violence? Now, this is an op-ed piece that I thought was interesting. Have you seen the Joker yet?
I have.
Okay.
I saw the first day it came out.
I have not seen it, but I've watched spoiler reviews of it. My understanding is I'm not going to spoil anything because there are people who probably haven't seen it.
Yeah.
This is what I want to say, and I'm going to see how I can tap dance around this, or maybe I can just edit it, which I probably will. There's a particular character that's not real. Is that true? That's a vision.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Just want to make sure. Or is it?
Yes,
is it sort of open ended?
No. It's
because I don't want to spoil it for anybody.
I'm trying to figure out how to say it without spoiling it. There are mental health issues that are explored. That's the best way I can put it.
Okay. Awesome. Do you think, because I thought this was a very interesting question, do movies that offer a sympathetic portrayal of violent criminals have the potential to promote violent acts in real life?
So I'm going to be...
I have a very short answer for this. But
what
go
do
ahead.
you think?
The short answer is anything can do that.
Absolutely. I will say from my experience, it also doesn't help. Like, I've struggled with my own mental health issues in the past. and I'm a weird person who, I mean, I have a Harley Quinn tattoo. Like I prefer.
That shows how we are on very opposite ends of the spectrum. Because you have Harley Quinn, but I have Captain America's shield.
Yeah. Like
I also have the Slytherin serpent.
I like bad guys, right? Like that's
Thanos
always been,
is right there.
It's always been my thing. Like I prefer bad guys.
In a weird way, I wish Jigsaw was my father.
Listen, we got to talk about Jigsaw.
I loved that movie.
You know, we had a standing thing of like we're gonna go see the movie together, but we have to like binge watch the earlier
I loved
movies.
it. They just filmed. They just finished filming the second one.
I just
Jigsaw
heard.
2.
Yep. Interesting. But yeah, so I will say, as I watched the film, there were many moments where I was like, you know what? I get it. And I don't disagree.
Well, see, the thing about that is...
I don't disagree.
The thing about that is, I think people in general, they say, I don't know how true this is, but they say Black Panther started the trend of villains that you understand why they're villains.
Killmonger, yeah.
And then Thanos did, and that really set up Thanos. Like, yo, all your people are extinct because they didn't listen to you. Mm-hmm. So your method is, all right, I got to make sure this doesn't happen.
Half these motherfuckers got to go.
This is my duty. I have to do it. Mm-hmm. And you get it. You disagree with the way they're going about it, but you get it. I imagine, like, with Joker, it's like, I get why you're a little off kilter. I understand.
I didn't even disagree with his methods, though. That's the crazy part. So, but again, I'm probably biased. I'm a person who I loved Joker as a child. And then Harleen Quinzel came onto the scene and I fell in love with her. And then I was like, oh, well, fuck Joker then. Like, because he's awful. But
depending on the
girl.
iterations of him, he can be pretty bad.
Joker is awful to my girl. Like, awful. And like, say, for instance, with Harley, and people are like, oh, well, you like her because she's crazy. I was like, first off, she's not crazy. She's misunderstood and she is passionate. There's a difference. But for me, like, watching Joker, it's dark. There are a lot of scenes that you're like, oh, shit. That took a left turn real quick. And then you start realizing certain things. And they also put, damn, I don't want to spoil anything.
We won't.
Yeah, I was like, damn, I don't want to spoil anything. It gives more context to a lot of backstories. That's all I'm gonna say.
So, and do you feel like these movies
can promote violence?
Yeah, it was when you paint them as, because sometimes when you have a villain, you paint them with no type of redeeming qualities whatsoever, and then it's like, oh, this guy's got to go down. But with a movie like this, it's more sympathetic.
He's revolutionary in the film. And I can see how he can be. It's almost like, what was that? Oh, God. Remember V for Vendetta?
I do, sure.
It's almost like that. And then you started seeing people wearing like V for Vendetta masks and like protesting.
But they didn't put bombs on the MARTA train.
They weren't doing that.
Yeah.
But so I left the movie and I felt heavy almost, but I'm also an empath. So I kind of I felt heavy. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking of this one joke by a comedian that was like, and this is also why I play video games. It's like, games like Grand Theft Auto, for instance, when you play them too often, there are times when I'm driving and I was like, yo, I can literally become infamous in a second. Because like in Grand Theft Auto, I can run through the whole fucking sidewalk and just kill everybody while I'm going there. I've had homicidal thoughts. I think we all have. Now, were they probably a little more shut up. Whatever. Now, were they probably a little bit more frequent from watching Joker? Possibly. So there was a moment where somebody bumped me on the train, and so I was walking back, and I was like, "See, now if I could have took your ass."
Thanks for tuning in to the Going Mach 5 podcast. And get this psycho away from me. All right, let's move on to the next current event. I did
absolutely not,
because I felt no. I loved this one. I thought this was great. Man being fired brings emotional support clown to meeting. This is what you talk about being an empath. For the Joker, if you can't empathize with this, you got some.
First off, funny enough, love the Joker, despise clowns.
Yeah, I hate clowns.
Fucking frightening.
A New Zealand man facing the axe at work brought a support clown to his recent redundancy meeting. The $200 performer provided comedic relief as his bosses fired him. I would absolutely do this. If I knew, okay, I'm about to get shit canned. All right.
I would probably film it.
I'm going to troll it. I'm going to troll.
Like,
of course I'm going to do
that
it.
shit.
Look at how serious he's taking. Look at, like, I would absolutely do that. This is, I thought it's either, let me see. It did talk about being able to support to bring a support person. Jack said the email and interview with local. I thought it's either a promotion or worse. I thought it was best to bring in a professional. So I paid $200 to hire a clown. He is a troll.
He's an absolute troll.
I absolutely love it.
Like, fool, that's why you got fired.
The clown mimed crying as Jack's employers slid the redundancy paperwork across the table and created a balloon unicorn and poodle to lighten the mood.
Oh, God.
Oh,
It was distracting.
That's so awesome.
It was sort of noisy.
This is the
That's
best
silly as
thing.
hell. That's silly as hell.
This is awesome.
Oh, my God.
This is awesome. I would totally do this. I think this guy's a hero. What's this guy's name? Let me see.
New Zealand man.
It just says it.
Jack something.
Jack. What's his name?
Maybe they don't provide full names.
I'm trying. Okay. Well, anyway, Jack for president 2020. That's the point of me trying to find his name. Jack 2020.
Jeez.
Come to America, become a citizen, and make it happen.
What a troll.
Have you ever taken a citizenship test?
Yes, and I failed.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and I failed.
I don't know if I'd be able to pass it now.
I absolutely would not.
I think
I don't know that shit.
there are people who like are very, very, very like anti-immigration that I say,
You can't pass that
it's
shit.
like go try to pass that test. People say, well, just become a citizen, it'll be fine.
No,
MAGA,
go pass that shit.
repo.
Pass it yourself.
Like, but they can't because I've looked at the questions and been like,
Those questions are awful.
It reminds me-
shout out to Rusev for becoming a citizen.
good for him. and Gila Klein on the H3 podcast, she did a great job. Okay, last one. Now, at first glance, I saw this and said, this is absurd. And then I realized, yeah, this is true. Democrat says African Americans all look the same to non-African Americans. U.S. Rep. Rashida, I'm not even going to try, told Detroit Police Chief James Craig he should employ only black people on the department's facial recognition team because non-African Americans think African Americans all look the same. And she is right.
Yes.
The Detroit Democrat made the statement during a tour, blah, blah, blah. Now, here's what he said. She said, analysts need to be African Americans, not people that are not. I think non-African Americans think African Americans all look the same, which is true. Now, this is James Craig. And I believe it's this guy who is black, clearly.
He got offended. He said she was racist for saying that.
I trust people who are trained regardless of race, regardless of gender. It's about the
And
training.
it was not.
She says, I know, but it does make a huge difference with the analysts.
It does.
Now, he had to say that. Publicly, he had to say that. I believe unless he's cooning it up like Sheriff David Clark, I believe legitimately that he
had to
knows
say
that there's merit in what she is saying. But also, she also says, and she stands by what she says, I know, but it does make a huge difference with the analysts. I can't count the number of times that people who are not black tell me I look like somebody that I don't look like.
Absolutely.
It happens all the time.
You're like, I do not look like that person.
I walked up to somebody's house the other day. It was a customer doing just trying to do a follow-up with somebody. And I pull up in a very nice vehicle, walk up, and they're outside working. They say, you know who you look like? I said, who? They say, you like Dwayne Wade. And I said, no, I don't.
No, I don't.
I don't like Dwayne Wade at all. Like at all.
At all.
I don't. There's
Not even a little bit.
We have nothing in common.
Not even a little bit.
Nothing.
But it's a matter of just technology in general. I mean, if all of the people in these Silicon Valley startups and tech companies and shit, if they're all white people, they don't think about that. Did you ever read that story about the man who was trying to upload his passport photo to the website? He was trying to do a passport application, and they were saying the algorithm kept rejecting his photo because they said his mouth is open in the photo. His mouth is not open in the photo. He just has big lips. But it was like, yeah, but see, white people who are, you know, historically thin-lipped people.
I think if the general people who are in charge of the thing start caring about the issue enough, then it'll be changed. But usually if something is not a problem for you, you typically don't care about it.
Yeah.
It's just like if someone were to tell me, oh, I don't know, a trans person got murdered the other day, it would hurt me. I don't want to see that.
That's not your struggle.
Intrinsically, it doesn't strike me.
Yeah.
Like I can feel empathy. I can march for you. I can do what I can legally to get laws changed.
It's not going to hit the same.
It does not.
It's not going
It
to hit the
doesn't
same.
at all.
Yeah. Same thing like how I feel about like anything involving black women. And I'm like, I'm not about to attack black women. I mean, except for Omarosa, Candace Owens,
Fuck both of them.
Stacey Dash.
Fuck her. You know she just got arrested
I know.
for domestic violence?
The charges got dropped.
Really? Mm-hmm. Good for her.
And they identified her as white on her paperwork.
I believe it because she probably told
processed
him,
her.
hey, don't do it. Anyway, we're running long.
sorry.
It's insulting. Craig said we have a diverse group of crime analysts, and what she said, that non-whites should not work in the capacity because they think all black people look alike, is a slap in the face to all the men and women in the crime center.
I think he's cooning it up.
I think he's cooning it up publicly.
I think he's cooning it up in his real life too. Because
You think so?
You could have just stopped the sentence. You could have just stopped your statement at the first sentence. The earlier statement.
That's something we train for, and it's valuable training. But to say people should be barred from working somewhere because of their skin color, that's racist.
They should.
One, I need to correct him. When you say barred from working somewhere because of their skin color, one, it's not racist, it's prejudice, and they're not the same thing. And two, I understand what he's saying about training, but
it's not gonna hit the same.
right, it's just different. He knows that, which is fine.
It's not gonna hit the same. And then for that whatever Democrat to say like, oh, well, let me see the headline again. African Americans all look the same to non-African Americans. Now that's a very misleading headline because it's not what she said.
No,
That's
not what she
literally
said.
not what she said. But here's the other thing though too. There's just a certain reality about it. So like for me, at the Grill, so the Grill's owned by Byron Allen and Entertainment Studios, which is also owned under the Entertainment Studios umbrella is the Weather Channel. So our office, the office space that we have is actually pretty segregated. Like we have all the blacks at the Grill, and then the Weather Channel is primarily just white people. Keeping it a buck with you, all them people look the same to me. I know varying things.
Years ago,
All them people look the same.
when you and I, because we gotta wrap this up.
Yeah.
Years ago, when you and I saw whichever one of those Saw movies it was, the first time they introduced Peter Strahm and Detective Hoffman, I don't know if you recall, it was either me or you as both of us. We legitimately said, "Okay, which one is he?" Wait, was that Hoffman? Or is that Strahm?
Wait.
Now the thing is, those men look nothing alike.
Nothing alike.
There's nothing alike.
Nope.
But
We're like, they brought him back.
at first glance, I was like, they're the same. It's like, what is it? I was telling someone about the movie Arlington Road, and I said, "Who was in it?" I said it was Tim Robbins and Joan Cusack, and I said, "Was it Jeff Bridges, or was it Jeff Daniels?" Because in my head, they look the same.
Look alike. Yeah.
They don't.
Nope.
Like they're just two white men.
Listen.
So
I pull a Kiki Palmer on white people all the time. Sorry to this man.
yeah,
I don't know. I wouldn't know him if he walked down the street.
It's just like
Sorry to this man.
you can tell the difference between most people, but I think now as I've gotten older, it's gotten better. But whatever. Anyway,
Still
you have anything else you want to say? Do you have anything you want to promote?
No.
Nothing to promote?
Actually, nothing. No.
Nothing at all, really?
I'm just chilling. Well, therapy. All black people should go see a therapist.
I agree.
That's what I'll promote.
I agree. I get therapy. It's great.
Yeah.
It's fan-fucking-tastic. Shana, thank you.
No problem.
I
Thank you for having
appreciate you.
me.
It's good to have a guest, and I'm not saying my other guests haven't. Ashley was very good at it. But it's good to have a guest that can also drive the conversation when necessary.
Dope.
I don't know how much editing I'll be doing to this one because I kind of want to leave everything in, but it is running long, so we'll see. Thank you, and have a happy flight back to
Good old New
Bumblefuck,
York City.
Bed-Stuy, whatever.
Yeah.
And you need to come back again.
Yeah.
I
The Hell in the
appreciate
Cell
you.
is tonight, so I'm going to be gathering with a bunch of wrestling nerds.
It's such an afterthought. They are not even promoting it. There are three.
They're really not
There are
promoting
3
it.
matches announced.
Yeah.
For a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Whatever. Anyway. Thank you, Shana.
No worries.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
There's no outro. We just kind of stop.
Okay.